Hello, hello, my lovely leaguers. Alright, so we started the game a little early in the champion select, and this is to give you guys an idea of the thought process behind picking a champion. In my case, a jungling champion. Okay, so first off, we've got a top Maokai. He's going to be great late game. Now, on the other side, it looks like we have strong early game coming from the Draven, strong mid game coming from the Yi. Like, the Yi, or Master Yi can affect the early game, in which he most likely will, but his strength is in the mid game. And so how do we pick a jungler that is best suited for this? We would want a CC jungler. Gragas looks pretty good, honestly. I think we might go with him if we don't find anything else. Let's go for the big G. Go for that Gragas. Okay. Okay, so their mid laner is going to be Karthus. That's actually a mistake on their part. Okay, so we're going to change our stuff around. We want to go Zac, jungle. I guess because we get some armor penetration, ability power, yeah. And then we want Zac masteries? What is that mastery? Yeah, I think that's okay. Damage, combat. Yeah, I think that's alright. Like Zac, depending on how you run Zac, like you can have some magic abilities going on. And with Gragas, you basically have magic abilities going on as well. Although I think I would prefer the Gragas to have, I think I would prefer the Gragas to have, what do you call it? The Storm... Thunderlords, there we go. Okay, so yeah, Karthus is not in the meta. He's kind of tough to deal with. His ultimate is kind of clunky. It's like, when do you get a chance? I mean, it's like, when does that ever happen? Now, their top laner is Nasus. And that'll be bad because Maokai is not a champion that really wants to duel. He just wants to farm. So late game is going to be interesting. Like, they have the late game engage of Leona. And then they have... so they have a pretty good setup. I would say that they have a good setup. But it doesn't mean that we don't either. We have a good setup as well. Caitlyn is going to be a powerhouse damage-wise at the end. But so we'll have to protect her like nobody's business. They're gonna try all sorts of things to get to our ADC, and it just depends on how good our laners are. But yeah, sometimes you just can't win games. It's up to you to make the best decisions that you can to do the best for your team. And especially when you're the jungler, you know, you kind of have to watch out for your guys. So you're going to get Talisman. We'll get some health pots. Because we're going to look to be active at level 3. And we're going to look to be active in the bot lane. Because even if the Yi helps out the top lane Nasus, like, the way that Nasus scales is just ridiculous. Like, he won't have a higher kill potential in the Maokai in the early game. The late game is where it's gonna matter.
30 seconds until minions spawn.
So if we get our bottom lane ahead, or even our mid lane ahead, but also Veigar, he needs farm too. So we really should concentrate on bot lane. And get her at a good place where she can do something. And we're gonna look to counter.
Minions have spawned. Their robes are so adorable.
We're gonna look to counter a play from the Leona. What we'll wait for is the Leona to go in and the Draven to try to get an attack, and then we'll go in.
Let's get this party started.
That's pretty nice. That was nice. Alright. Pull this guy over here. Use a pot. Right. I felt like we took a little more damage than we should have there. It's probably because these are Zac masteries. But we can. The great thing about Gragas is we just heal it back up. Right. Ah. That's a bummer.
Need some grog.
The Yi took our red here. Or our blue, rather. I don't think we have, we don't have anything.
I'm on it.
Kind of keeping an eye on bot here. Alright, so we're gonna use this scryer to go, point it this way. See that? Okay, I'm gonna head this way. Alright. Okay, wow. That was rough right there. Alright, so we're gonna get this first item.
Catch some.
We're gonna head back towards our raptors. But yeah, Draven has a lot of burst damage early on. There's the Yi. We're gonna get a ward right here. And a ward right here, why not? And we're going to... Okay.
Let's get this party started.
Cause yeah, all that lane is gonna do is farm all day. Gonna put another in our W. Oh, nice. That's exactly what you want, like... That's exactly what the enemy doesn't want, like a Vigar that is... fed. Thank you. That's nice of the Vigar. Okay, so something might happen in the bot lane down here. Make our way down. Might possibly clear a ward or something. We'll see. Yeah, there's the ward. Good. Alright, we'll just be able to get out of there. Alright, Right, we're gonna... Nice, Vigar. Come on, Vigar, you're the man. Wow. Alright, so we're gonna look to get this guy. Alright. First tower. Oh, and Vigar, my man. Don't go crazy. You're going crazy. Alright, so that is going to help things out quite a lot. So we're going to get Runic Echoes. We're going to get that item. Get some boots. That. And let's head on over here. Like this Vigar, man. He's so aggressive. But we should hurry on over here. Okay, actually, wow, he didn't take my red. That's so crazy. We're gonna pop this. Get some wards out for our buddies here. There we go. A little coverage there for some of our guys. Alright, we've got our ultimate here. I'm not sure. Okay, I think that's gonna be okay. Because that's a lot of farm that they'll be missing, and I'll be able to get this guy. Okay, there we go. Oh, they didn't even get the tower. Excusey.
Yeah, yeah.
See, there we go. Yeah, it's pretty nice to displace people like that. Alright, tower should be fine. Alright, now we're gonna get out. I think it's better to have this. Yeah. We're gonna finish our item here. There we go, Runic Echoes. And then let's go Boots of Lucidity to get that, to get our ultimate and all that other stuff as quickly up as possible. Yeah.
Get some.
Alright, we're gonna look to, okay, there's no awards there. Look to put a ward right there, and look to put a ward right there.
Let's get this party started.
Alright, there we go. Easy peasy. Alright, these guys need some help here.
Last call. Oh, yeah.
Right. That didn't get him? Wow. Alright, I should, I'm a little low, so we're gonna get on out.
Yeah, yeah.
So the top laner is getting beaten by the Nasus, sadly. But that's kinda, that was pretty much predicted right there.
Don't get pushed.
But yeah, that's pretty much predicted right there.
Yeah.
He didn't get the tower, that was a bit of, that's gonna be a mistake on his part.
Get some.
Right. Okay, Nami should be dead. Going for Sheen next. Nice. Get out there on that rift. Do something. Nice, he knocked him right into that. Okay, there we go. Okay, we're gonna ward this. Heal up a bit. Alright, that's rough. But that's all he can do. We were just trying to stop him from getting the tower. That's all. Alright, so we're gonna look to get this item next. Be a little stronger here. Okay, so it looks like the guys in the lane are being kind of goobers here. So they finally got the Infernal Drake. Okay, we're gonna start scanning here. Okay.
Don't get pushy.
Throw a ward right here. And we're gonna throw a ward over. Okay, finally. Alright, that took a lot to take him down. Looks like we'll be trading a They went pretty deep for that. Okay, so Gnosis is some mid. Alright. So people need to pay attention here, but they're not. Yeah. Too much attention is being placed on Gnosis. Alright, so we're gonna go Iceborne So right now, Gnosis has some pretty hefty items. He's got his damage items. It doesn't mean that the game is, There we go. Of course. Yeah.
Your fellow stars are fading.
Oh, nice, man. Very nice. See you later, buddy. So the Karthus isn't too bad, but he will fall off. We're gonna get some Spirit Visage action. And it's pretty much how Gnosis is. He's gonna be like a powerhouse late game. Okay.
Let's get this party started.
What? There we go. Nice little juggle there. Alright. So he was using his Q pretty well there. But that ended up turning against him there. That's one of the things I don't like about Yi, is all you have to do is hit your R and focus your Q. Focus on your Q, like to miss the chance of getting CC. That's why he's so dangerous mid-game. Because as you saw, like, as soon as I went in to do my barrel, or my, as soon as I went in to do my body slam, he just used Q. And he waited for that.
Catch some.
Alright. So I was out of position there. The Draven actually doesn't take a whole lot of damage from... Yeah. Yeah, Caitlyn just doesn't do that much damage. Caitlyn does not have her core items. So on what's unfortunate here, and one of the reasons why we're gonna lose, is The Caitlyn decided to go for a Duskblade of Drakthar on Caitlyn. So she has no burst. She doesn't do the kind of damage that she should be doing at this stage in the game.
Your turret is close. Your team is super cool.
There we go.
Take some.
So it's so early in the game that we don't even have that speed up. I still don't think so. Peyton's getting a little damage now, I think. Yeah, she's got some damage now, but she still needs her IE and stuff like that. Alright, so we're gonna be getting some wards in areas. Okay, those were really dumb areas to put. Alright, so we have one tower here. Alright, that game's over. But yeah, there were some key moments in the game that that we could have influenced, but we couldn't. Gnosis also out tanks and out damages Maokai. I think like the game is coming to a point where it's proving itself to be like a MOBA that allows for competitive play, and a champion like Gnosis is just it's too much. It's too much that resolves itself to independent play, or it gets away from the idea of cooperative play. Just the way that the champion is built. So it's just one of those unfortunate things. Like Maokai is built to help his team, whereas Gnosis is just built to farm. Another major issue is if you notice that our Caitlyn, she does not have an IE. This would have reduced her damage significantly, and it basically turned a lot of those fights against us because we would not do enough damage. The Yi is another one of these champions that in mid, I think well, see, like in competitive play, he's never played because people understand his flaws and they know how to deal with him. What makes it difficult is to stop him from queuing, essentially, or stop him from auto attacking and to just queuing because he's just really squishy. And a good Yi player knows the difference between an attack that's focused on him and a as opposed to like a CC which is going to stop him from auto-attacking. And in this case, he used his Q to avoid all attacks that were being focused on him. And I have to admit that I fell for it. He Q'd right when it was, right when he was about to be stunned by me. And we had plenty of CC ability with our team. It's just that we used our CC incorrectly. And later on, when you get higher elo, they have a better understanding about how to handle Yi. Another point. So yeah, that's one thing that I should not have done. And also I think Iceborne Gauntlets, I could have gone a little not so. I could have done. I don't think I needed to go Iceborne Gauntlets. Yeah, I think I should have gone like a more tanky type build. The fact that we didn't. Our lanes had their own issues, like Maokai versus Nasus, there's no way I can ever gank that lane. But, so Nasus is able just to continue to scale. But the right way to play that is you get a champion that, takes advantage of Nasus's early game, and you snowball from there. But Maokai is not a champion that can snowball, and all you have to do is you continue to farm with Nasus. And the itemization from Kate would have slowed the game down. And that's the thing, like, the thing that I think is more predominant when you build for late game, because a lot of people don't know how to end the game at this stage in Elo. If you don't know how to end the game, games are going to predominantly go late game. And if you're a late game champion, you're going to be more powerful than anybody else. But I was trying to do some stuff that would slow Nasus down or something like that, but I don't have the capacity to handle all of that. The Yi was the battle where Yi was taking a bunch of people's lives, and I believe there was some skirmishes early on that should not have happened. And the point is, you just don't skirmish when there's a Yi in the game, because he will just use his ultimate and then clean up the fight. You just don't skirmish early on. So they had a better comp, I think. I mean, the Karthus did well, but he's just not a meta champion. I think overall, all of these guys, they knew their champions better than all of us, including myself, because even I didn't itemize correctly. Like, I should not have itemized towards Iceborne Gauntlet. I had enough damage as it is, and I was being targeted by the Yi quite a bit, so I should have taken Randuin's Omen or something like that to really take Yi into account. So yeah, that's an itemization blunder right there. A majority of the damage would be coming from Draven and the Yi. So focusing, not so much focusing on magic damage, because I think I just grabbed that for whatever reason. I grabbed it because of him, but he wasn't doing the majority of damage to me. I mean, it's good that I'll be able to survive some of his attacks. He's still, like, relevant, but they have a composition that attacks or goes for our weaknesses and the strengths of their other team. Like, it's like this. to build MR and health to survive. That also boosts Yi's damage with Blade of the Rune King. So their composition is more complementary than ours. And then Yi knew how to do work in the mid lane, where a lot of people don't understand that you should not skirmish the mid game, because that's where Master Yi spikes his damage. You shouldn't just like stand in the jungle, or you shouldn't stand like it's one thing to be in your own jungle, and then if you have vision, that's another thing to try to skirmish, meaning start a small fight. But if you never know where Yi is and he can just pop his R and just rush to your location, then you have a big problem. Now, there was at least one fight I saw that was in the river, and that was a big no-no because Yi can come to the river from any point in the map, and most likely he's going to be closer to that point because it's closer to that side of the map. So the mistakes that people make in terms of positioning and how champions should be played, the problem with Yi is when people make a mistake to go skirmish or fight in the mid lane, or not in the mid lane. What am I talking about? Skirmish, skirmish in the river, which is just closer to the enemy base. It doesn't take much for Yi to clean up that fight, and mid game is his strength. Once he's got this skirmisher's blood razor, and then he can just cancel the damage coming from the ADC and then clean up everybody else. And he does have the most kills on his team, so he knew his job to a T. And then finally, you've got the Nasus versus the Maokai. The Maokai, like, we have enough CC, so we could handle the Nasus, but the Nasus is just so tanky and he does so much damage. It's unbalanced. And the reason why Yi is used so much at lower elo is because people don't understand positioning. You should not be at certain point. You shouldn't be at certain points in the game when Yi is at a spike. Caitlyn had an itemization problem. She didn't have her IE as her first item. She actually got a Duskblade of Drakthar, and that's not what you want as Caitlyn. And I'll explain why you don't want it as Caitlyn. Caitlyn is a person that wants to consistently do damage. If you look at one of the passives, when spotted by an enemy ward, okay. Well, I meant the other one. Okay, there we go. After being unseen for at least 1 second. What does that mean? That means if the enemy sees you, and you've used this ability, you can't reactivate this ability. But if you step out into the fog of war or a bush, this passive, and you have to stay out of, you can't attack for like at least 1 second. Once you're unseen for at least a second, usually fights are happening pretty quickly that you're attacking more than 1 second. Your basic attacks will do an additional bonus damage from 65 to 320. Now that's a pretty wide margin. But that's it. That's what this item does. And it's for champions that, like a classic champion like Zed, where they hide in a brush, they hide in the fog of war, they show up, they do a massive amount of damage, a lot of burst damage, and finish him off with an ult if not all the damage is landed, or not all the damage landed. For Caitlyn, you get IE because you want all critical attacks to stack, and you want them to do bonus damage. You just want to do as much damage as you can over time, and the critical attack damage is the way to go. She did not have the damage enough to take care of some of the champions that were when we were fighting in mid lane. But because we were having, even if she had the items, we were having so much trouble with guys like Nasus. The late game would have, eventually worn us just completely dry. And Nasus would continue to be this, megalith champion that just takes down inhibitors and will have all these problems in base. So yeah, so the top laner picked Maokai. He shouldn't have picked Maokai because he didn't know the matchup versus Nasus. And one of the things as a jungler at this elo you find is when you try to stop a Nasus early game, somewhere around mid game, if the top laner doesn't know how to stop Nasus, like if he doesn't know how to specifically stop him, it doesn't matter that all your ganks went out. You went flawless with all your ganks. So it really has to do with knowing your matchup. Because Maokai didn't know the matchup, I think he picked first, but when you pick first and you pick a certain champion, you have to be aware of what you could be countered with. And people pick Nasus because you're just going to get free farm all day on Nasus. And you're going to heal up whatever damage that the Maokai potentially can use against you. But yeah, the Nasus just stacks and stacks, and this is a problem because it's way overpowered, and it punishes people that don't understand matchups. Not necessarily. I just feel like it's more towards people that want to take advantage of the system instead of use it what it's meant to be, which is a multiplayer game. A player that you use strategy against one another in certain abilities and not using champions just because they're overpowered in some way. But it's still amazing, to know more about the game is to win more games, but when you have champions that and people that it's just frustrating for sure. All right, we'll finish up with some itemization. You've got the Maokai. He was itemizing. He's got Sunfire Cape to do a little damage when he's close to Nasus, but it's not going to do much. Spirit Visage to deal with some of his magic damage. Deal with some of Nasus's magic damage. Ninja Tabi to deal with his basic attacks, so he's itemized correctly for Nasus. One thing about Yi that I think is ridiculous that they should consider changing on Yi is his ability to cut through defense. I believe one of his abilities is to do true damage, and it just ignores defense or something like that. And it's quite a ridiculous ability. It's like an ability that chops through the strategy part of the game and just decides, hey, we ran out of ideas, so we're just going to give you something that is ridiculous. That's why you see so many Yi players at this elo. So now you have the Caitlyn, which she itemized incorrectly, which delayed her power spike. And if the power spike of Caitlyn is delayed, that means we're not going to do well in any team fight, no matter how good we are. And then Nami, she's got Lock of the Iron Solari, which is not so useful against anyone but the Karthus. I mean, I guess it's okay, but it's a little rough to itemize Lock of the Iron Solari against Karthus when the majority of their damage should be coming from AD, coming from the Zed, or coming from the Draven and the Yi. The mid laner, I felt like the mid laner did a pretty good job. He's got some survivability with Rod of Ages, and then he continues to stack and do damage. We had a team that could work out, but we were making too many mistakes in terms of not using our abilities correctly, which is when I didn't body slam the Yi when I should have to stun him. They need to make it so that it takes him longer to ramp up or something like that. It's just the amount of damage he does, and when he pops his R, makes his Q come up so quickly. You know, it makes him untargetable, and so many of the champions that are become untargetable are broken because, you know, what do you do in that case? You know, that's why I ban a lot of times Akali, because when she just turns invisible, there's no real way to deal with that. How do you engage a champion you can't even see? You used to put down a pink ward to see these guys, and I thought that was headlong. I think that was pretty powerful in terms of strategy, and it's just something that you got to get used to doing. That's the same with a Vayne or something like that. But for some reason, I don't think it's too cheap with Vayne. I don't know. I guess I don't know why it's not as cheap with Vayne. I don't know why. I just don't feel like it's as cheap, because I think Vayne is more susceptible to dying than maybe an Akali, and then Akali can just continually use her abilities to close gaps and get multiple kills. More of a champion that is related to solo activity rather than strategy and multiplayer. So in the end, like, the Gnosis really didn't do too much. He just kind of did damage, and I guess he probably took a turret or two. The Draven did what he needed to do early game. Did a good job. He's got his I think he went Death's Dance early, so he can get that sustain, so he can just continue to trade, sustain, and then so on and so forth. And then he would ratchet up into items that would make him do more damage later on. And the Infinity Edge is one of the items that he got that, if you look at it, it's an amazing item. It gives you 70 plus attack damage, gives you 20% critical strike. So every attack, you got 20% chance of a critical strike. And then its unique passive, critical strike's bonus damage is increased by 50%. So when you do critical strike, all of your items are increased by a massive amount, and this is including critical strike right here, 30% plus 20%. So he has a 50% chance to crit, and that's a ton of damage. In addition to his last whisper, which is going to chop through any armor that we've got, which is great itemization. You've got the Gnosis, that's got the Thornmail. We don't really have I don't think it's necessary to itemize for Thornmail. When hit by the basic attack, reduces attacker's attack speed by 15%. Oh, that's interesting. I think that's something that they added to a Thornmail. Basic attacks reduces the attacker's attack speed by 15% for 1 second. I should think about getting that. I should think about getting that because that's more for like people like Yi that do that. So I'll have to itemize Thornmail against Yi next time, because I could have easily gone for Thornmail instead of this Iceborne Gauntlet. And then I guess Spectre's Cowl is okay, but I really should be itemizing for the majority of their damage here. So yeah, I should have went for something like Thornmail to deal with Yi. Yi is itemized for speed with the Phantom Dancer. He's going to get some critical strikes. He was going for an IE later on to do more damage to stay relevant. And then Blade of the Rune King is going to allow him to attack fast and bring up his Q as often as possible so he can avoid being stunned and being killed in the process. The Leona, I felt, well, she shouldn't have gone Iceborne Gauntlet, but since they were ahead, they could do pretty much whatever they wanted. But this is a mistake. She should have got something that helps her team out be more supportive item. Redemption or something like that would be a very excellent. It would be an excellent item to have. And then Karthus, pretty much, he did a good job, but Karthus is just one of those champions that it's hard to make him work. But the rest of their team did a great job, and it made him work. So he's got survivability, he's got cooldown reduction, he's got ability power, he's got some sustainability with his Zanya's Hourglass, so he can deal with some armor. So he's actually, like, he's building himself more defensively. This is probably the way you really want to go when you're building Karthus. You don't want to build him as a glass cannon, but you want to build him to continue to last, so you can soak up damage and you can do damage. That's probably the best way. So they itemized really well, except for the Leona. Alright guys, this is Arch, and I hope you enjoyed this defeat. But I hope you learned a little bit something about how the Yi champion works, how people make mistakes in skirmishing, you know, when Yi is at his peak. And I certainly made mistakes myself, making wrong itemizations. It can be so, you see those recommendations for items, and it can be so tempting. You're like, oh yeah, give me some of that. But I did a fair amount of damage with my combo, and then, you know, you want to use your displacement to stop a Yi attack or something like that. I had plenty of CC. It's no excuse that we let the Yi kind of do whatever he wanted. So next time, we'll think about doing damage to him before we try to stun him, and or find some way to chain stun him. We'll have to use our ultimate on him to knock him into a wall, or, you know, and then stun him if he tries to Q out of that. Alright guys, I will talk to you later. I am signing out. Hi-yo.